सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Some musings on Viveka. The word Viveka is formed by the root verb which. Same another form of the same root we have Vichara, another word we have, which means enquiry. Then why do we need another word called Viveka? While the word Vichara is for any kind of enquiry in general, like Atma Vichara, self-enquiry, the word Viveka has the force of looking at two different things, which might be confusing. So therefore, the word Viveka is translated as discernment. Discernment is always between two things generally, two or three things. There is a mix-up, and so through discernment, we understand what is it that needs to be delineated. So this is what is called Viveka. And so what is the discernment? So discerning here, the discernment in Vedanta Shastra is not really discerning between two things in the universe. It is a very big discernment. It's a discernment of what it is that I have to pursue and what it is that really matters. In other words, what is the reality and what is not the reality. And naturally, I want to pursue that which is real. And in fact, we have a way of looking for the real thing everywhere. Finding a job, that is real. Finding a life partner, that is the real thing. And in fact, the sellers of Coca-Cola are convinced they have the real thing. Everybody is looking for the real thing. The word for real in Sanskritam is that which is always unchanging. Nitya, always the same, that which never has a beginning, never has an end, and is always one and the same. That is what is called Nitya. And then there is something, of course, its opposite is also there. There is something that is its opposite. What would that be? Anitya. When you negate Nitya, you get Anitya. So we have Nitya and then we have Anitya. And so Viveka is traditionally defined as Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. Which means the discernment between what is it that is real and what is it that is not real, so that I can pursue that which is real. But the question is, why do we have so much trouble understanding what is real? This should be a no-brainer. Supposing in a bowl of in a glass bowl, there are some wax fruits and real fruits kept together. From the first sight, it can be confusing. You can say, oh, look at that, which is which, you don't know. But upon closer inspection, upon bringing the fruit, touching the fruit sometimes is enough, but if they have been clever and have been able to replicate the skin in the waxen fruit, then bringing it to your nose, taking the aroma, that should be telling us the difference, or at the very last instance, cutting it will tell us the difference between that which is real fruit and that which is not real fruit. And so like this we can make out things that are mixed up in the universe. What is a real elephant and what is an elephant made of grey stone sculpture? That also, upon going closer and seeing that it is not moving, all these things become the lakshana for telling the real elephant, apart from the unreal one. While our sense organs are very good in delineating objects in the universe, they are useless when it comes to understanding the difference between I, aham, the subject, which the Shastra says is Nitya, and all the objects Anitya. How to delineate between the two? First of all, who is this I? This is so many questions come. That's why Viveka becomes a topic worth pursuing. It definitely becomes a topic eminently worth my time and worth my effort to understand what this is all about. Because upon understanding this topic hinges the rest of the spiritual enquiry, with words famous, made famous by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, who am I? That who am I enquiry, Atma Vichara, self-enquiry, whatever you want to call it, begins with Viveka. Viveka would not be needed if there was no self-ignorance, number one, and if the I was not mixed up in the not I, then there is no need to discriminate, there is no need to delineate, there is no need to discern between anything and anything else. Because one already knows there is no self-ignorance, and so if there is no self-ignorance, there is no need for Viveka. But self-ignorance is there, and therefore mix-up is there. Mix-up rests on self-ignorance. I do not know who I really am. Self-ignorance, that's an expression of self-ignorance. Therefore what? I take myself to be what I am not. This is the mix-up. I'm as good as the body. Dehe nashte aham nashtaha. If the body is destroyed, what happens to me? I am destroyed. If the mind is destroyed, I am gone. If the senses are gone, I am gone. And likewise, the person says, I am lame, identifying with a leg that is not there. I am mute, identifying with a faculty that of speech which is not there. And I am bald. Here the person identifies with a bunch of hair that is not there. And so, because this mix-up is there, we have the Viveka becomes the first entry point into qualifying for what we call Atma Jnana, Atma Vichara, etc. To understand the Atma, I have to have this Viveka of what is the Viveka, what is real, what is not real, what to pursue and what to ignore. Speaking of pursuits, in the Hindu Dharma, they are called purusharthas. They are 4 in number. Sarvaihi purushaihi arthyate, that which is desired by all beings. So there is a universality about this purushartha, the pursuits which are so many and so varied, but from the standpoint of grouping them, all the many and varied pursuits of all human beings in all parts of the globe, and if there are other parallel universes, we can include that also, come into 4 categories. Dharma, that is values, pursuit of values that make me free of conflict and strife, both inner and outer strife, inner and outer conflict. Dharma. Artha, which is commonly known as security. Kama, any kind of pleasure. Pleasure seeking is called kama. And then finally, moksha, which is freedom from seeking altogether. And so of these, let us start with artha to begin with. Dharma we'll take up later. Let us consider the pursuit of security. And now, the one question to ask is, are we as human beings seeking security, or actually are we seeking freedom from insecurity? Huh? This is a very important question. It's not just it is being reversed and I'm using the opposite by adding in to security. Because security, seeking security is different than being free from insecurity. Because, you see, for example, if we look at it like this, is the person who is carrying crutches, the person who is carrying crutches is insecure about her legs, his legs. That is why they are carrying crutches. So the crutch is for what? For the one who has come to the understanding that I am insecure. As long as one is insecure on the crutches, on one's legs, then there is the need for crutches, walking stick, etc. So then the one who is secure with regard to one's legs does not need crutches. In fact, crutches are not part of the daily dressing. You don't don a nice sari and then use crutches. No, you don't do that. A nice sari or a suit and then you do crutches. No. So therefore, the more one needs these crutches, proverbial crutches here, that means the more one feels insecure. Do we want crutches, or do we want to be free from insecurity? This is a very important question. Obviously, nobody wants crutches. And then when we look at all the things that the crutches represent, finances, crutches, name, it's a crutch, fame, crutch, I want power, that's a crutch, I want community, that's a crutch, I want to feel good, that's a crutch, I want validation, that's a crutch, I want to be special, that's a crutch. In fact, whatever any kind of security that one is seeking, that immediately brings to mind that one is feeling insecure. We are just trying to understand what's going on. It's not a judgment here. So it's not about who is right, etc., who is wrong, etc., but we are just looking into unpacking the concept of artha, security, as a valid pursuit in the human life. This is, we need to analyze the reasons and look at the fallacy, and look at their fallacies, and then only come to the conclusion what is real. So it's a big revelation to understand that one is not seeking security. One cannot handle insecurity, so therefore one wants freedom from insecurity. oh, you're just keeping on playing with words. It doesn't make much of a difference. Well, it does. Because when I look at it this way, that I am seeking freedom from insecurity, then the pursuit takes on a slightly deeper, direction. There is more depth in the pursuit. Because if I say I'm seeking security, let us take that statement, that means I have already concluded that I am insecure. And if I have already concluded I am insecure, that becomes the place to seek security. But if I say I want freedom from insecurity, then that leads me to the next question: why am I insecure? This is where we have to go. This is in fact Viveka. This is Viveka. So the body is insecure. With regard to the body, I am insecure. It is subject to age. It is time bound. It is subject to illness. It is subject to disease, all kinds of things. So then that is where the confusion is. And that is why I need an enquiry. And that is why this enquiry is called Viveka, not Vichara. Viveka is enquiry when there are two things which are mixed up. And what are the two things that are mixed up here? Aham, I, and not I. Atma, I, and not self. Anatma. Anatma. And so the not knowing the I leads me to conclusions that at best do not stand, we can say, they do not stand the test of the Shastra Pramana. They do not stand the test of the Upanishads. When I write my autobiography, it is dipped in the ink of tears. First chapter, why me? Second chapter, this goes on and on. Third chapter, how to survive. Fourth chapter, more complaints. Fifth chapter, not conclusion. To be continued. In the next Janma, same thing. What kind of an autobiography is it? If I'm happy with this autobiography, if I'm able to read it and present it to the world also, then we can end this conversation right here. But I'm not happy with this autobiography. In fact, I reject this autobiography summarily. I do not want any kind of this story at all to be my story. Therefore, the Upanishads, the teachings of the Hindu Dharma, known as Vedanta or Upanishads, they have a different view of the I. They have a view of the I, not only a vision that I want to assimilate, a vision that I love to hear, but a vision that is very convincing that I already am. And so the Upanishad takes the liberty to rewrite our autobiography from sounding like the jaded, faded jiva. Been there, done that, sick, tired, sick, bored. All the things have been used up. All the sense organs have been used up in the pursuit of meaningless items and things and people and dead-end situations. The repeated pursuits of dead-end situations have left me deadened to the realities in life. So the Upanishad has a different story about my life, which I want to keep on hearing. It says, you are whole, you are free, you are free of sorrow, you are free of fear. And this is not something you have to become. You already are that. The only way that is standing between you and what you want to be is your own ignorance, which can be dismissed, which can be removed through a committed pursuit of the teachings of the Upanishads. Now my seeking is very different. Before I was thinking how to seek security. Now I understand it is not really the purushartha. It is freedom from insecurity is purushartha. And when we look at the statement freedom from insecurity, that is not describing the purushartha called artha. It is describing the purushartha called moksha. The definition of moksha verily is in fact freedom from insecurity. That's why we always say we start with 4 purusharthas, because the Upanishad goes along with one's ignorance in the beginning. You teach the person where the person is at. Now the artha purushartha is swallowed up because it has become one with moksha. It is swallowed up because moksha means what? Freedom from insecurity and freedom from some kind of incompleteness. And that is what artha used to be. And now it is moksha. So now out of 4 purusharthas, how many remain? 3 remain. Let us go now discussing kama. Often translated as what is that? As pleasure, seeking pleasure, tapping some happiness. Again, it's not very well understood. What does this mean? I am seeking happiness means I am unhappy. So I seek happiness because I am unhappy. So now this is very interesting. So if I am seeking happiness, is it like seeking any other object? I am seeking chocolate cake, I am seeking ice cream, I am seeking bondas, some kind of fried fritters. So what is it that I am seeking? It is not an object. Because what is it that makes me happy is not what makes you happy, not what makes the other person happy, not what makes anybody in the world happy. Some people are happy going rock climbing. Some people are saying, get me down. I don't know how I came up here. Get me down and I'll be happy once I come down. Some people say by eating this, that or the other, I'm happy. I love jackfruit. I want jackfruit, some kind of a tropical fruit. And the other person says, get that jackfruit away from me. It has a very strong smell. I like grapes. And so where is this happiness? So happiness is not an object. So that's why we find that the people in the world are so busy. One is seeking something and the other one is trying to get rid of that very thing that the first person is seeking. And so therefore, we are not really seeking happiness because we can't pinpoint to an object called happiness. Supposing you say, yes, I love coffee. Coffee makes me happy. Does coffee make you happy all the time? No. If you have a stomach upset, you say, please don't bring me coffee. If you don't want the coffee, it doesn't make you happy. The sight of coffee makes you just more sick because you have some kind of an upset, stomach flu. And then again, even if the stomach is all right, if the mood is off, you have had a fight with the significant other or with a loved one, family member, then also you don't feel like drinking coffee right then. And so if it is happy, if the happiness is in the object, it should make me feel happy at all times, whenever I look at it, whenever I have it near me, or whenever I become one with it. But then that is not the case. So what I'm seeking is not happiness. Ayyo, first I was seeking security. Then we came to the conclusion I'm not seeking security. Now I'm seeking happiness. Now we are saying that I'm not seeking happiness. Then what am I seeking? I am seeking to be a happy person, not happiness. Because happiness is not an object. It's neither outside nor inside, nor in the west, nor in the east, nor in the north, nor in the south, nor in some other galaxy. What is it that I'm seeking? I want to be a happy person. This is what I want. I want to be a happy self. And if I'm happy self, that means what is the conclusion? I am an unhappy self. In other words, the self is unhappy. That is the conclusion. Self is not happy. This is the conclusion. I am not the happy self. And so therefore what? Again we look at this autobiography called the Upanishad, and in its view, you are happy. Forget the view of the Upanishad. Even in your own view, in sleep, what happens? If you are not happy self, if you are an unhappy person, then that means that is the reality. You should be unhappy all the time. But in sleep you are happy. No credit card debt, no worries, no annoyance, no anger, no sorrow, no fear. That's why nobody wants to get up. Everybody wants to continue sleeping. It's so hard to get up and it's so much fun to go to sleep. This is why. Because I can be myself. And what is this self? When all the roles, mother, father, sister, brother, son, daughter, all the roles, employer, employee, neighbor, friend, citizen, all the roles are gone into a mini dissolution. They're all dissolved. Pralaya. A baby pralaya has taken place. They're all dissolved. And what obtains here is not the unhappy person. Who is the one that obtains? Happy person. Ananda in sleep. And Ananda also even while awake. Sometimes I am in touch with Ananda when I listen to music, when I listen to something that is immersive, absorbing, when I am able to forget this not happy I that I have concluded I am. When I have, when I forget that, then that conclusion is constantly eroded. So then, and then so therefore what? So therefore, we had three purusharthas, and the freedom from the unhappy self, what is that? Moksha. So we had three purusharthas. First we had four, then Artha and Moksha became one. And then what is Kama? Seeking happiness or seeking the happy self. And the happy self was shown to be not unhappy at all. In fact, it was occasionally unhappy. And so therefore what? I'm seeking freedom from being unhappy. I'm seeking freedom from unhappiness centered on the I. And then what? Freedom from the unhappy self is again moksha. Freedom from the unhappy self is again moksha. So what is really karma? Freedom from not being happy, freedom from the not happy self, that is karma. And that freedom from the not happy self is again moksha, because the word freedom is moksha. Freedom from anything that you don't want is moksha. So now how many purusharthas are there? Dharma and moksha, we can count 2. Soon, soon it will be 1. Wait for it. Soon it will be 1. So what do we have left? Dharma. And what is dharma? Dharma is this, the dharma is this values, a matrix of norms, which we all abide by because we want to live peacefully together. And everything in the world cannot be codified into laws. He sat in my place. You cannot put a lawsuit. So therefore, there is an unwritten code of conduct. Do not sit in the place that has been occupied by somebody else. If they go for 2 minutes, and especially if they have a book or a pen or a bag kept on that chair, that means it is occupied. Don't just throw that on the floor and park yourself on that seat. This is dharma. Why is it dharma? Because you would be very angry if somebody else did that to you. That is why it is called the golden rule. Do unto others as they want you, as you want them to do unto you. Do not do unto others as you don't want them to do unto you. This is dharma, simple. It's a matrix of norms. And it is in fact, even though we are discussing it towards the end, it is in fact the first purushartha. It is the first purushartha because it readies oneself, it readies the person for moksha. That's precisely the reason I'm talking about it last, after collapsing the other two purusharthas into moksha. So now we have dharma and moksha. Dharma becomes a means for moksha. Knowing this is Viveka. Knowing this is Viveka. And so therefore, what is this dharma? It's a place for inner growth. Dharma is the pursuit of inner growth. Pursuit of emotional maturity is dharma. Pursuit of spiritual growth is dharma. And this is very, very unique to the human being. In all other respects, we are like animals. They eat, we eat. They go to sleep, we go to sleep. They are subject to fear. As humans, we are subject to fear. They reproduce. We are also capable of reproduction. And what is the distinguishing factor? They cannot follow dharma. They need not follow dharma because they don't have complexes centered on the I. The complexes means these wrong conclusions. I am insecure, I am unhappy, all these wrong conclusions they don't have. So therefore, this dharma alone distinguishing feature of the human being. It is pursued for spiritual growth. Because there is another type of growth that takes place on its own. One grows up, one blossoms, and then one starts to deteriorate, every living being. And then one is gone. These are called 6 modifications. From birth to death are talked about in the Shastra. Undergoing these 6 modifications, all the other beings seem to be okay with who they are. But for the human beings, these 6 modifications, the natural process of growth is not enough. One needs to initiate another kind of growth. Growing as a human being, that itself gives a certain kind of a satisfaction, a contentment in the relative sense, based on which I can pursue absolute contentment. And so dharma becomes a means for gaining emotional maturity. Dharma for growth. So you discover self-growth. And self-growth is a purushartha, relatively speaking. Self-growth is a purushartha. It's not the purushartha, it is a purushartha, because I have the tendency to see myself as imperfect. I want to be more compassionate, more accommodative, etc., etc. And the concept of perfection itself is a problem, because the Shastra describes you as already perfect, not needing any kind of modification. So therefore, the freedom from imperfection, the so-called imperfection, is the purushartha. And then so if dharma is a relative purushartha, seeking freedom from the notion of imperfection, and seeking freedom means what? I already said, moksha. So how many purusharthas do we have? From 4, we have whittled it down to 1. Therefore, what is everybody seeking? Moksha. Everybody is seeking moksha. Whether they know it or not is a different thing, but everybody is seeking moksha. Therefore, moksha is not one of the 4 things that one is seeking. It is the only thing that one is seeking. And not knowing that one is seeking moksha, this desire to be free of wanting perfection, wanting this, wanting that, is morphed into 4. 3 other purusharthas. In fact, there is only one purushartha. And knowing this is discernment. The fallacy in all my conclusions of what I am pursuing is discernment. That I am seeking freedom from insecurity is not discerned due to aviveka. That I am seeking freedom from being unhappy is not discerned due to aviveka. That I am seeking freedom from being perfect is not discerned due to aviveka. And this is exactly what we have to understand. And therefore, what is one seeking? Moksha. And moksha is Nitya. Nothing else is Nitya. Even heaven and all these places that you go to, Anitya, 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 Anitya. Heaven also cannot be eternal. Nitya means always the same, eternal, limitless. Heaven cannot be limitless. Why? Because if it has been created by Ishvara, by God, that means it has a starting date and it will have an ending date. It is not eternal. It is not limitless. In fact, the only limitless thing is myself alone. Why? Is oneself alone. How can you come to this conclusion? Because if there is such a thing as limitless, it has to include me. It cannot be outside of me. And I can say, there goes that wonderful limitlessness. That is, that is madness. Because that means that limitless is excluding me. If it's excluding me, it is not limitless. And the second thing that I have to know about that which is limitless is that it is not created. If it is created, it has a beginning date and an ending date. This is what we call the pursuit of, moksha. This is moksha. And that moksha is the seeking of moksha is called the seeking of Brahman, which is limitless. That is why it is called limitless, Nitya. And this seeking of Brahman alone is in the form of Atma Jnanam. And if I keep seeking all kinds of things which are finite, I will never seek the whole, I will never seek the total. And seeking is an as though seeking, because I am already free. I am already Brahman. I am already the solution to the problem that I think I am. Nothing can be other than me can be the solution. Nothing other than you can be the solution. No heaven, no purushartha, nothing. Wherever you go, you have to discover this truth. And this in the discriminative inquiry is what we call Viveka. It is a cognitive inquiry. It implies cognitive skills. And then it makes one objective. Viveka is there, you become an objective person, and then that, that objectivity helps me to seek properly rather than get mixed up and mired in a whole lot of meaningless, dead-end pursuits. Thank you. Om Tat Sat.